the past 30 years, I've been considering the role the saddle plays in all of this, what it does not, or could do to help in the furtherance of great riding and in the ennoblement of the horse's being. Winston Churchill has been credited, rightly or not, with the quip that there's no greater secret than that which lies between a man and his horse. To my mind, that would include, at least in part, the saddle. It certainly corresponds to that location. As this was said some time ago, one question we might ask is this still a secret? And if so, why? Perhaps a follow-up question could be, how much has the answer to this question even been investigated? I would suggest that the role the saddle plays is critical. Let's take a couple of moments and look at a few diagrams. So, this is a fairly typical posture of many horses that we see, and I would say that it's certainly not the posture of ennoblement. You can see that the horse's back is depressed, which causes the pelvis of the horse to be rotated in a way that puts his hind leg further behind him. And the thoracic sling, which holds the horse's thorax in between his shoulder blades, is depressed and his head is up. In contrast, we'll go to the next slide, which is what I would call the beginning of the ennoblement of the horse's posture. And here you can see the opposite. His back is coming up, his pelvis is rotated, which puts his hind leg further underneath him, and his thoracic sling is lifting up, and his neck has a beautiful posture to it. So this is just one example of that posture in motion. If we go to a more collected posture, which is the next slide, you can see that the further development of the horse creates a greater degree of elevation in the horse's thorax, more lowering of the horse's croup, more weight being carried by the horse's hind legs, and obviously it's much more of a high school attitude. And the next slide is a picture of an extraordinary German rider by the name of Willi Schultheis, and you can see that there's that same posture in action. So, in regards to the saddle, here's the essential dilemma. How can the downward pressure of the rider and the saddle together create an upward lift in the horse's back, in his thoracic sling, and a lowering of the croup? The answer is not at all obvious. For many, the answer lies in the standard, I'm going to call worn-out ideas of saddle fit. If this sounds disparaging, I mean it to be so. Why? I believe this is a failed narrative based on how many horses' backs are sore, how many are regularly injected, operated on, shocked waved, drugged, and euthanized for irreparable back pain. It begs the question whether or not saddle fit is even the correct way we should be thinking about this issue. A better question might be, what ideally should the saddle feel like to the horse in motion? Or could it possibly be improved to better answer his physical needs in motion? Another might be, if all horses adopt a similar posture, again in motion, when going well, the posture that we'll call the posture of ennoblement, will they all have the same needs? If so, would one saddle serve many horses? A possible way to get at this might be to start with what a saddle should not feel like to a horse, what he should not experience from a saddle. So let's make a list. A horse should not experience any of the following: pain, dull, sharp, or chronic, deprivation of an ennobled posture, reduction of mobility, muscle fatigue of the thoracic sling and back, soreness or strain of joints and muscles from compensating for back pain, asymmetry of flexion, stress or anxiety, greater discomfort associated with a deep seat, inability or discomfort bending laterally, or an increase in any of the above in direct proportion to the rider's increased demands. So if the horse felt none of the above, would we consider that to be the ideal? Or is there something more, something even better? What about this? What if instead the horse was able to experience the following from a saddle? Let's have a list. Actual pain relief, inducements to assume an ennobled posture, complete freedom of movement, high efficiency in metabolic function, excellent recovery from exercise with no soreness, complete relaxation with optimized focus and cooperation, equal comfort regardless of the depth of seat, complete symmetry and increased ability to bend laterally, and if none of the above, changed with increased in rider demands. The horse's experience in a saddle, as indicated by his response to it in motion, should be, in all cases, the adjudicating factor and what should be our primary concern. Creating this kind of experience for horses would be transformative in these ways. More horses and riders would have what we could call Billy and Blaze moments. More horses would realize their full potential. More riders would realize successful, meaningful relationships with their horses. There would be fewer coercive training methods used. Horses would be sounder with longer lives of useful service. Riders would save money on vet bills, treatments, pharmaceuticals, surgeries, and supplements. As I bring this to a close, notice I speak of this in the hypothetical, but in actuality, I've been experiencing these benefits for some time through the technology we've developed, and I'm not alone. It is my conviction that a major obstruction to really good riding has potentially been removed, and it's long overdue. So just to put a bow on it, here are a few slides and stories of horses which exemplify what I believe is possible. This horse belonged to the late Russell Clark, who many of you know was the master of foxhounds at Myopia Hunt Club. This horse came to Virginia to be retired when he was 16, and at age 21, which he's pictured here, he was a day away from being euthanized when Kelly and I went to rescue him. Excuse me. So, anyway, this is a picture of him when he's 26, which is extraordinary for a number of reasons. Excuse me. It's extraordinary because we don't think of old horses being able to put muscle back on, right? Usually when they've lost their muscle, that's it. So he's obviously put on a lot of muscle, and all of this happened with no pharmaceuticals, no supplements, no treatments of any kind, no therapies. He had very little stiffness and was obviously capable of working every day, which, you know, he's one of our test horses. The next slide we took yesterday, and it's obviously in the middle of winter, but he's 31 in this picture, and he works every day. I make no allowances for his age. He has no inflammation, no stiffness. He's on no drugs, no supplements, and no therapies. I show this because I think this is eminently possible. And when you have horses that you are near and dear to you, to be able to extend our relationship with them in a meaningful way is I think, a wonderful opportunity. So anyway, on to the next horse. This is a horse that was owned by the late Bill Backer of Smitten Farm. What's interesting about this horse is that the day before I went to look at him with Kelly, he was at the Morven Park Equine Medical Center being x-rayed for a possible broken pelvis. So you know that he didn't go there because he was sound. And so this took about, I would say 45 minutes before we could get to this point. When we first looked at him, it was impossible to put a saddle on him. But through putting a saddle on and then walking him a little bit and then getting on him and sort of letting him untie all of the knots that he was tied up in, we ended up at this point. And then if you go to the next slide, this is him cantering on his left lead, which he had not been able to canter on for many months, which is one of the reasons why he went to the vet center. So again, nothing else was done to him except a change in the saddle that he was wearing. And then if we go to the last one, yeah, this is 2 nights ago, of a little pony who also had extraordinarily sore back, had been shock-waved and basically sort of signed off of riding for some period of time. And they brought him to us, and we used our technology, and he ended up carrying twice the weight of the rider he normally carries, and was quite happy about it at the end. So anyway, that's what I have to say, and I would be happy to entertain a question or two if anyone had one. Otherwise, I'll